It is useful to be able to think of a language as a code. To do so is to invoke ideas derived from the mathematical theory of communication, or what most people nowadays call information theory. This is a branch of science which has been developed during the 20th century by communications engineers who have investigated problems connected with the transmission of messages of all kinds by telephones, radio, and electronic devices. The main conclusion of information theory are reported and expressed in terms of mathematics or statistical probability. For that reason, information theory is not a branch of science which can easily be popularized. It is an exact science like physics or mathematics, and it deals chiefly with the measurement of information and the rate of its transmission along electronically controlled channels. Such matters are not easy. This book, which is about the English language, is not going to attempt to give anything like a popular account of information theory, not only because such an attempt would be beyond the ability of the author, but also because it would be irrelevant. Nevertheless, there are one or two concepts of information theory which are not difficult to understand and which apply to all kinds of communication, and these concepts are useful tools of analysis. They can help us to order and make intelligible our knowledge about language and give us insight into the way in which language works. The first of these ideas is that of a code. The model of a communication channel given on page 2 can serve as a starting point. The signal that is transmitted across the channel is made up of signs such as the phonic or graphic substance or the formal realization of a language. These signs make up a code. We can therefore define the word code as meaning a prearranged set of signs which make the physical embodiments or signals which the observer notices when he examines a communication channel. The simplest kind of code is one that has only two signs. For example, the on or off, ringing or not ringing, signs of a doorbell or telephone bell, or two signs H and C in a typical British bathroom. It is impossible, of course, for a code to have fewer than two signs, because a one-sign code, if there were such a thing, would not be able to convey any information. It may be thought that a doorbell or a telephone bell is an apparatus for making the physical embodiment or signal of a one-sign code, but this is not so. For the non-ringing of the bell is just as communicative as its ringing. The absence of a signal can contain just as much information as its presence if the absence is a prearranged part of the code. At the moment, when I am writing this, the telephone bell in my house is not ringing. But the fact of its not ringing is conveying information. It is a signal that no one is dialing the number. Earlier in the afternoon, when it was ringing, that ringing conveyed different information. If the telephone bell were a means of conveying the sign of a one-sign code, it would be either ringing continuously nor never ringing at all. And if either were likely, there would be no alternative choice to give one sign or the other any significance, for neither sign would be a prearranged sign of anything. Such thoughts as these lead to the idea of its being useful to think of codes as presenting the encoder or decoder of messages with the opportunity of choice. Every sign transmitted across a channel is a sort of instruction from the encoder to the decoder to choose one bit of information from the prearranged code and to reject others. If I go into a typical British bathroom, for instance, and want hot water, the sign H on a tap is an instruction to choose that tap and not the one with the sign C on it. Here the choice is a simple binary one. I have to choose either this or that. But most codes are more complicated and have more than two signs. In very complicated codes, such as languages, which have a very large number of signs indeed, the choice will be much greater than a simple binary one, and the encoder and decoder will therefore have the opportunity not of choosing this and rejecting that, but of choosing this and rejecting those.